Happy Sunday and welcome back to the Mr. Sitter podcast, ladies, gentlemen, children of all characteristics. And it's me, Anthony. I sure as fuck missed you. I hope you sure as fuck missed me because it's been 3 days since we've chatted, and that's the longest that we've gone since doing a podcast episode since the commencement of the World Cup. It was hard. It was hard to not do a podcast yesterday, but I didn't because I was hungover and because I genuinely felt like doing a small podcast to preview the fourth playoff wasn't worth it, especially after what Walid Regraoui, the Morocco coach, described the game as. But we'll chat about that in a second because we need to start with the Melbourne Derby, which happened yesterday and was abandoned. It was abandoned after the Melbourne Victory fans stormed the pitch to attack Melbourne City's goalkeeper for some reason that has not been made apparent. I think the reason is Melbourne Derby. I think that's the reason. You know how sometimes you get the weird kind of violence in the Sydney Derby with the Wanderers and Sydney FC, and you're like, how can you guys feel this passionate about this derby? It's existed for like 10 minutes. These clubs didn't even exist 20 years ago. Grow up. What's wrong with you? So disgraceful. One of the darkest days in Australian football history. Way to bring shame to the Australian game. Like when the most eyes in the entire world are on football. You know, because like more people are invested in this sport globally than at any other time in human history. This weekend, you know, this is the most televised, the most watched World Cup in history, which means people's care for football is at an all-time high, and now is the weekend where they've decided to be fuckheads and do this. Like, I'm not saying there is ever an appropriate time to pitch invade, but this is not it. I watched the documentary on Netflix yesterday. I watched a fuckload of football documentaries. I watched the FIFA Uncovered documentary, which I cannot. It's a doco series, new one about all the corruption in FIFA and about the kind of demise of Sepp Blatter, which I knew about the stuff, but I didn't know about it all in as intense detail as the documentary delineates. It's highly, highly recommend. So I saw that, and then I watched the documentary about the Figo transfer between Barcelona and Real Madrid, and man, like, that's another one that's kind of totally fucking disgraceful. The amount of shit that they hurled at Figo, it's like, guys, grow up. Imagine, okay, this may come off as somewhat hypocritical, and if it does, I don't care. Don't invest that much of your life into football, man. It's sport. It doesn't matter. You're not involved. It doesn't have anything to do with you when you're a fan. You know, like you're not crucial to the operation. Figo doesn't give a fuck. Barcelona and Real Madrid ultimately aren't going to give a fuck. Players come and go. Just let the man live his life. The scorn that this guy copped, and I'm watching it, and I'm like, the amount of interviewing the people are like, he's a traitor. Like Barcelona fans are going on national television to proclaim that Figo was a traitor and that he should pay in blood for accepting a fucking transfer. You know, he moved from Deloitte to KPMG. Who gives a fuck, man? It's business. You understand? These people are professionals. They get paid to do this job. If one organization pays out another organization to get him, like, that's business. That's life. Grow the fuck up. And to riot, to pitch invade on the scale that is the Melbourne Derby. I don't know. Melbourne City came into fruition like 2010 or something, maybe a little bit later. You've been a people for 10 years. You're nothing. You know what I mean? I've got little cousins that are older than you. Grow up. Fucking Australia, man. Fucking this country, you know? Azalea Banks was right. This is a hellhole. Why pitch invading? You have no culture. Grow up. Okay. Okay, let's rein it in because I want to do RIP for Sinisa Mihajlovic, Serbia and Serie A legend. He played for Lazio, played for Inter, has been a coach in Serie A for a number of years now, has been battling with leukemia for a very, very long time, and finally lost his battle with leukemia a few days ago. 53 years old, way too young. Wasn't a great coach, but was a great player and a huge loss to the football world. So big fat RIP for Sinisa Mihajlovic. Anytime you lose somebody that young, it's a tragedy, and somebody that left such a big mark on football is it's all the worse. Okay, let's crack into it because I don't want to take up too much of your time on a Sunday, and because there ain't too much to talk about in the Morocco 1 Croatia 2 third-fourth playoff. The Slavs, the big Crows, they walked away with the victory in this game, which Walid Regragui, in a interview before the match, described as being put in an idiot's position. He said he didn't understand the purpose of the third-fourth playoff, especially after two teams have just lost their opportunity to make history and go into the World Cup final, that they are forced to play this game, being put into an idiot's position. To contrast this, Andre Kramaric, the Croatia striker, was interviewed as well and said that he felt it was an honor, and it would be an honor to return home with the bronze medal. And I think those two mentalities were really quite telling entering the match, because Croatia just kind of wanted it a little bit more. And I think overall, Croatia have been to the dance a few times now. Morocco have had this unprecedented World Cup run, and I think they're just bitterly disappointed that it's come to an end, that we don't get to hear their wonderful Return of Jafar evil national anthem anymore. But I will certainly be, I don't know if you guys noticed, a few weeks ago I wore a Nigeria jersey in one of the videos. Nigeria were always kind of like my African team, if you can have that. But I think quite obviously the world respects Morocco, and I will take time to watch Morocco games in the future if that's a proposition that becomes available to me. We do not have do we have an AFCON this year? No, we couldn't possibly have an AFCON this year. Like, it would be next month. I think the next AFCON will probably be... They do one every fucking year. So I'm pretty sure that next AFCON will be at the end of next year. Get me a Morocco top and go full steam ahead, boys and girls. Anyway, Croatia had an extra day to prepare for this match, which I don't know if that's fair. But then again, Argentina will have an extra day to prepare for the final. So, you don't have a choice in the matter when one team plays on a different day to another team. It's inherent. It's inevitable. It's maths. So shut up. Croatia set up in a 3-5-2, which they have not done in this tournament. I think the idea was to fit in. They wanted to play a lot of their players that haven't featured too much, including two centre backs. To the right of Guardiola, including Šutalo, who's quite highly rated, who plays for Dinamo Zagreb. So I think the best way to fit all those moving pieces together was with 3-5-2. It worked for him. Guardiola, who has deserved a goal this entire tournament for how well he's played, scored with a beautiful, well-worked set-piece routine. Ivan Perisic, header from a Modric ball back into him. And no, it wasn't. It was actually Lovren Mayer, not Modric. And Guardiola, kind of diving, flying header, scores 1-0 to Croatia. He's still wearing the mask. Don't know if the mask deviated the flight of the ball. No, it didn't. It didn't even come close to hitting it. He hit it with the top of his head. And then moments later, a very similar, well-worked goal routine from Morocco got him back into the game. Ashraf Dari, the centre-back, scoring. He played, and the only surviving member of Morocco's infamous backline that has done so well in this tournament was Achraf Hakimi. The rest of them have all gone down, and that's a big shame because they have been wonderful in this tournament. the subs were telling, because Morocco came up with some quite atrocious defending, especially in this first half. There were moments where they almost gifted Croatia a chance to regain the lead, and eventually they did, with Orsic picking the ball up towards the left-hand side of the penalty box and curling just a beautiful peach of a goal into the top right-hand corner. And Croatia going into the break, 2-1 up. Mark Bosnich over the moon, can't hide the Croatian singlet that he wears under his suit every time he jumps in the studio, and he was highly complimentary of the next generation of Croatian players, because you do have Modric won't feature again. The likes of Perisic must be on his final legs in the team. Lovren, probably Kovacic, probably Brozovic. These guys are probably heading towards the end of their careers. And you have the likes of, you got Orsic, you've got Lovren, obviously, you've got Josko Gvardiol, obviously, will be one of the best defenders in the world. But beyond that, I like Sosa, I like Livakovic is pretty good, but Livakovic is like 27. What's the right back, the Celtic right back? What's his name? Juranovic. He's decent, but man, like, okay, on one hand, you consider that Croatia over the last 25 years have consistently produced amazing players beyond your Modric's. Like Rakitic was there, Brozovic, Kovacic, fucking Mario Mandzukic, Ivica Olic, Dario Srna, the Kovac brothers going back a little bit further. They have always consistently produced really, really good talents. But at this point, beyond Gvardiol and maybe Lovren, don't really see anybody scratching the ceiling of like that level of player. When you consider that these guys had both Rakitic and Modric kicking around in the same midfield, like Lovren, I don't think is going to reach the level of either of those players, and there isn't two of him. You understand? So I don't know if I would be as confident about the next generation of Croatian players. I think it's probably going to be like they'll still make it to the dance. They have that kind of embedded sporting excellence in their ranks, but I don't think that they're going to be pushing for, finals and third place finishes anymore. The only cause that I have for optimism for them is the fact that Zlatko Dalic is still in charge, and he is genuinely one of the best international managers out there. The variance of tactical schemes that he comes up with, the kind of nuances of the way that they play. I mean, without Luka Modric, it's going to be extremely tough. But in Dalic, we trust, because he's phenomenal, and to have engineered eat your fucking heart out Gareth Southgate, who I'm not necessarily not a fan of, but Dalic has done better in World Cups of late than Gareth Southgate has done, with considerably blunter tools. So any credit that Gareth Southgate gets should be given tenfold to Zlatko Dalic. Extremely, extremely impressed with that guy. It looked, for all intents and purposes, in that second half like Croatia were just going to walk away with it. Finally, these two hyper-vigilant, hyper-disciplined teams throughout the entire tournament looked like they had run out of gas. There were a couple of chances for En-Nesyri, one on 74 and one on 95, through a chance that he got one-on-one with Livakovic. They kicked straight at him, and then a header that flew just over the bar, which would have been cool on the 94th minute because it would have sent it to extra time. And then I just wanted penalties, to be honest. I wanted the drama of penalties, but we were not given it. And so Croatia win, and they become the 11th European winner of the fourth playoff in a row in World Cups. That's a long time, guys. That's 44 years. So that European stranglehold over the World Cup still exists. But let's hope that it doesn't continue to exist tomorrow. Yeah, that's my segue into talking about the final. How fucking exciting, guys. How exciting, and also a little bit bittersweet, because that is the end, effectively, of my daily podcast rally. And I'm going to miss doing it. But yeah, we'll chat about that. I've got two more. I'll do one tomorrow. Where we're just going to hit the fallout from the game, very short episode, and then the following day or the day after, I will do a postpartum of the entire tournament. So the finals tomorrow morning, 2 o'clock in the morning if you're in Sydney, and there's been a lot of chat about the final, both from an on and off pitch perspective. Ukrainian President Zelensky wanted to deliver a video message advocating world peace in the stadium and obviously in television broadcasts before the game, and was promptly turned down by FIFA. Now, once again, I will reiterate that I watched the FIFA documentary, and I think this came out a couple of months ago, and had I watched it a couple of months ago when it first came out, the way that they present Gianni Infantino is somewhat like he's the knight in shining armor that's coming in to sort of be a beacon of hope for FIFA. I think the permutations of what's happened with regards to him, not just the "today I feel like a migrant worker, today I feel gay" speech, but the way he defended the denigration of the Pride armband by saying, "Oh, we did that to specifically promote inclusivity." The warped logic lends me to believe that this is just another super out of touch, super rich, power hungry European fucking snake in the grass, and that FIFA is I'm not saying it's Sepp Blatter all over again. I don't want to go and watch the doco because I'm going to chat about it in a few days. But he fucking sucks, and this is another piece of evidence as to why he fucking sucks, and why did we expect any better from a guy who wears sneakers and a tie. He wears a tie with his suits, and he wears sneakers. And not only does he wear sneakers, he wears high tops. High tops went out of fashion 6 years ago, and they never were in fashion paired with a fucking necktie. Fuck this guy and his top of the head fucking freckles. Anyway, it would have been cool for the Ukrainian message for peace in such a poignant atmosphere and a well televised and well viewed event, but it will not come to pass. What will come to pass though is some rich Aussie lunatic who put down $500,000 bet on France to win in normal time, and then an additional $550,000 bet on France to win in extra time. In case I needed extra motivation to go for Argentina in this final, here it is. Fuck this guy. I don't know who he is or where he came from. It was described as the owner of TAB as the most unprecedented and audacious bet in Australian history. If I had that kind of money to throw around, I don't bet. I don't gamble as a rule. So maybe that's why I don't have that kind of money to throw around. You got to take risks in life to get where you want to get. Case in point, I bought a hat. I don't know if you guys, the listeners only, you won't see that I'm wearing a hat. I never bought a hat in my whole life. 30 years I've gone without buying a hat. I saw this hat the other day. I guess I'd been so far removed from my friends, the podcast listeners at this point. It had been 2 days since I did a podcast, and I thought life is evolution, and I bought this hat, and I've basically not taken it off since I bought it, because you got to take risks in life, unlike Gianni Infantino. Yeah, brought it back to fucking Uncle Fester, the dickhead running FIFA. Another Swiss banker. We didn't learn from Sepp Blatter, who they interview him in I'm going to talk about the documentary a little bit again. They interview Sepp Blatter, and he's so old. He's so old and he's so frail. And even when he was in his prime as FIFA president, he's so small that he always kind of looked little and frail. At no point in the entire documentary, including when they're interviewing him face to camera and he's disheveled and he's old, at no point did I not want to bash him. I would stomp the shit out of this money grubbing, horrible human being. And the other thing that I found quite funny is all of the major power players within FIFA in the period where the corruption was just totally rampant. I knew about Jack Warner. I actually read an article in Goal magazine when I was in year 11 about Jack Warner. So I had known about him for a long time. He was the president of CONCACAF from Trinidad and Tobago. He was like Sepp Blatter's second most corrupt guy. There was a guy called Chuck Blazer who was American, who was like his second in command in CONCACAF. And the reason why this is important is because like him and Mohammed bin Hammam, who was Qatari, quite crucially to the ramifications of Qatar winning this World Cup, they are important figures because being president of these confederations, whether it's Asia or whether it's CONCACAF, grants these people a lot of power because they represent like areas with a lot of countries. So if you can win this person's favor, you win because it's one vote per country. So like the South American Confederation had very little power because there's only like 10 nations in there. But CONCACAF, with all of these tiny Caribbean countries, somehow has like 29 votes. So that lent a lot of power to these people, which ironically were all from countries who are shit at football. Trinidad and Tobago, Jack Warner. America, up until recently, for this Chuck Blazer guy. Qatar, always Mohammed bin Hammam. The Swiss aren't very good. The guy who ran against, there was a guy called Johansson, ran against Sepp Blatter when Sepp Blatter was first going for president in 1998. He was president of UEFA, and everybody in the documentary came out and said, had he won this election, the entire landscape of FIFA would be totally different in the previous 20 years. He had this grand plan, which sounded really awesome. He was from Sweden. Like, no Italians, no Brazilian. Like the original FIFA president was Brazilian, but no Brazilians involved. No French. A couple of French. There's Platini. Anyway, the point is that they were all from shit countries when it comes to football. I'm sure Trinidad and Tobago is a beautiful place to be, and it just like struck me as strange. But anyway, fuck Infantino, and like we're gonna who knows when his misdeeds are going to be uncovered, because this World Cup is a bit cooked. We're gonna I want to chat in further depth about the documentary a little bit later on. But anyway, let's go to on the pitch, because I've already gone longer than I was intending to. There was talk about Lionel Messi's hamstring, which he grabbed a couple of times in the Croatia game, being unwell. But Emi Martinez and a couple of the other Argentina players have come out and said he's fine. So let's hope he's fine, because with it, like if Messi was injured for this World Cup final, it's like 50% less worth watching. IMO. There was rumors that Karim Benzema would come back because apparently he's fit and he was never quite removed from the France squad. He took to Instagram to say that he was not interested. So we will not be seeing Karim Benzema. I don't know if it was like a ruse, like CM Punk isn't coming back. But I don't think footballers work that way. He's focused on Real Madrid, and he is and he's not going to be there, and nor I think should he have, because to introduce a player certainly of that magnitude, of that ability, so late would probably disrupt the continuity that France have developed in this tournament. And they're doing well. They're doing real well. They're doing well enough for some lunatic Aussie to put that kind of a bet on them. So we'll not be seeing Benzema. As for my prediction for the game, I've purposely left my show notes here on my laptop blank, because I want to riff on it, because I don't know how to feel, and I haven't known how to feel for a few rounds ever since Croatia knocked out Brazil. This World Cup is anything but predictable. Nonetheless, here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that Argentina are not a good matchup for the way this France team likes to play. This France team does like to yield a lot of possession as more of an energy conserving and an energy sapping when it comes to the opposition tactic, and then they don't. It's not to counterattack them. It's not at least a quick counterattack. What they do is they incrementally seize control of the game. In crucial moments. They take the sting, quite similar to Croatia actually. They take the sting out of the game at various points, and then they take the game by the scruff of the neck at various points as well. And given the personnel that they have, a lot of teams, especially in the last 2 rounds, have kind of worked out ways to nullify Kylian Mbappe as a rule. And then it's like you've got Griezmann, you've got Dembele, you've got Giroud, who are all having magnificent tournaments. In fact, a lot of people have spoken about it. Griezmann might be player of the tournament. He has been a midfielder. He's not been a midfielder in his entire career, and now he's like an 8, which is remarkable, and he's playing really, really well. The greatest player in the world, Adrien Rabiot, is back. I believe Dayot Upamecano will be back too, but I don't think he should start because Konate is a much better player, in my humble opinion. Don't know what they're going to do setup-wise. Do not expect a surprise from Didier Deschamps. It may well be the exact starting lineup that played against England, sans illness. But the reason why I think that they don't match up well with Argentina is because when you have a player like Lionel Messi, it's not a good idea to yield territory to them at any point for any reason. So they may not take that approach. They may decide to try and go for the jugular early and try and obliterate Argentina, but by getting 2-0 up before halftime. I would be shocked to not see them do that. And it's going to be a question of how much Argentina can hold out. Argentina's midfield has steadily got better. Scaloni has played a different formation in most of the games based on the opposition, which is the way to coach, but it's also the way to overcoach, as our friend Pep Guardiola learns year after year in the Champions League. I'm hoping that his relative naivety when it comes to international management, at least compared to Didier Deschamps, who I should have researched this, but I don't know if there's ever been a coach who's won 2. I mean, maybe the guy who won, maybe it was the same coach for Italy and Brazil, but I don't know. I don't know if there's ever been a coach to win 2 different World Cups back to back. But it would have been those guys. He will join that pantheon if he's been around the block. He's not the guy to fuck with. I can see 2 scenarios here. I can see, like I said, France realizing that they're not going to be able to play their usual game against Argentina when you've got Messi and you've got Julian Alvarez, who's basically a battering ram next to Messi. I don't know if they're going to try and play the way they normally play. If they don't, I can see it being a boom crash affair, and we may get a game like the game between these 2 sides was in the round of 16 of the previous World Cup, and it was like a 4-3 job, which would be amazing. We would be very, very happy to see that. Having said that, I don't think that's how it's going to go. My actual prediction is that this is going to be 0-0. That France are going to come out and say, "You shall not pass," and Argentina are going to say, "Well, let's see about that," and Argentina shall not pass. And for every time France attack, they shall not pass either. And I can see it being 0-0 and going to penalties and being a fucking another slog. And who knows who takes it on penalties? But I would like to hope that it is Argentina. I think the entire world that is not French are going for Argentina. And, why wouldn't you? The Aussie guys bet aside. Everybody wants Lionel Messi to win it. I don't think anybody wants to see France go back-to-back. That's not fun. And I think if it does go to penalties, Emi Martinez will prove to be a lot more crucial than Hugo Lloris, who, as I've spoken about once or twice on the podcast, is still due his one calamitous mistake of this tournament because he's played very well. It may happen tonight. Let's just see how it goes. Either way, the World Cup comes to a quite lovely end. Infantino, our old friend, came out and said this has been the greatest World Cup ever. Yeah, you fucking would say that, wouldn't you, bro? I still have, it doesn't matter what happens tonight. It's not going to be better than 2006 in my mind, but that's nostalgia and patriotism that's speaking. And also a somewhat objective eye. Let's go and watch highlights from this World Cup. The amount of goals scored from outside of the box, which I know that's not necessarily a metric for how good a tournament will be, but it helps and it adds to the drama. Enjoy it. Enjoy the game. Enjoy respectfully. There's no need to, if you're there, if you're in Doha and you're going to go to the match and somehow you're listening to this, do me a favor and don't storm the pitch for any reason, because that's fucked. And way to give Aussies a good name. Azalea Banks was right, people. This is a hellscape. Let's get out of here. I'll be doing an episode tomorrow. I will be very tired and probably quite hungover. So could be a fun one from your perspective. Could be a not so fun one from my perspective. But it'll be a shorty. It'll be a shorty and a goodie, just chatting about the game and whether I was right about certain things. And then we will do the big recap episode, which I think I want to give a lot of time and consideration to. So I'll probably spend Tuesday preparing it, and then I'll do it on Wednesday. Or I'll release it on Wednesday for your entertainment. This has been Mr. Sitter. Thank you so much for coming on this journey with me. I hope you've enjoyed the World Cup as much as I have. I hope you've enjoyed this podcast as much as I have. And if you are so inclined, stick around, because I will be doing weekly, possibly bi-weekly. What is bi-weekly? Does bi-weekly mean every 2 weeks, or does bi-weekly mean twice a week? Let me know in the comments. I'll possibly be doing 2 episodes a week, because I've really, really enjoyed this, and I find it a good mental exercise and way to produce content, because who doesn't like content? So thanks for being with me, genuinely. I hope you enjoy the match tonight, and yeah, vamos Argentina. Ciao.